Hi, I'm John Fortune, and today I'm going to read you a book about an architect, I.M. Pei. Have you ever wondered how big buildings are built? Why they look like they do? Why do some buildings look completely different than other buildings in the same neighborhood? That's because buildings, roads, theme parks, baseball fields, and so many other structures are designed by architects. What's an architect? They are people who use their imagination to design the look of a building and their material knowledge to make it safe. All the buildings, bridges, and airports that you see in Boston were designed by architects. One of those buildings, the John Hancock Building, was designed by the architect we are going to meet in our story today. This book is from a series called Ordinary People Who Changed the World. And I think you will agree, I.M. Pei changed the world. His building designs are world famous, and throughout your lifetime, you will see some of his beautiful and unique designs. I have been to several myself. The book I'm going to read is called I.M. Pei by Brad Metzler and illustrated by Christopher Iliopoulos. I.M. Pei. I was born in China, the year of the fire snake. My parents named me Yu Ming, Chinese, for to inscribe brightly. But everybody called me by my initials, I.M. My mom and dad had different perspectives, different ways they saw the world. Kids that are born in the snake years are said to be real problem solvers. My mom was a poet and a flutist who loved the arts. My dad, he worked in a bank. You should be a banker when you grow up, like me, your father, and your grandfather. When I was little, my mother took me up high in the mountains. I wanted to explore and run all around, but she had other plans, something called meditation. I want you to sit, close your eyes, listen. Listen to what? There's nothing to hear. Shh, be patient, just listen. So I sat and I listened. Just before dawn, I heard a strange creaking, groaning sound. I thought it was bamboo shoots coming up from the earth. Mom, you hear that? It was a great gift my mother had given me, to hear the silence. It let me experience the world in a whole new way. As a child, one of my favorite places was an ancient garden owned by my relatives, the Lion Grove Garden in Shenzhou. To me, it was a giant maze, and I was a marble ricocheting off every corner. What a cool tree. The way it was designed, you couldn't see a clear path that went straight through. It forced you to explore and be surprised. Every few feet, something new would catch my eye. Whoa, look, a stream. At the center of the maze were rocks shaped like lions. But beauty isn't made overnight. Hundreds of years ago, rock farmers chose certain rocks that they thought had potential. This looks like a good rock. Then they chiseled and planted the rocks so water would smooth them over time. Do your thing, water. Decades later, the farmers' sons and grandsons would dig up the rocks to finish what was started. You picked good ones, grandfather. In China, many things were built over centuries, the past and present linked together. The gardens were designed for regular people, artists and poets, not kings and queens. When I was 8 years old, my grandfather taught me about the great ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius. He told me, wherever you go, go with your heart. To give and to receive is a way of life. I also loved modern things, like playing billiards. I'd study all the angles, looking for the perfect shot. Ah, now I see it. When I was 10, my family moved to the city of Shanghai. I'd never seen buildings so tall, 10, 20, 30 stories high. Whoa! The Park Hotel was my favorite building. I imagined it grew from a hole in the ground, like a plant that now reached the sun. Look, Uncle, I drew it. That is something. I knew what I wanted to be, a building designer, an architect. When I was 17, I made my way to the United States to study at some of the best schools in the country. Sometimes simple materials are best, like glass, steel, and concrete. This is your calling. William Emerson, MIT's Dean of Architecture, said. I wasn't great at drawing. I wasn't worried I'd be a bad architect, but I never gave up learning. There needs to be a reason to build what you build. It can't just be something to look at. That was Walter Gropius, chair of Harvard's Graduate School of Design. Notice how the sun keeps changing. It makes the space come alive. That's what Marcel Breuer said of the Harvard faculty. Perhaps the most important thing I learned was this: perspective. It means the way you see something. Your perspective can change depending on how you choose to look at an object. Sometimes it can happen when you spend time with someone who's different from you. This is Bill Zeckendorf, the first person to hire me as an architect. I was quiet and low-key. He was a bit louder. Call me Big Bill, he said. Get your blueprints ready. We're going to make buildings that are bigger, that are better. He was born in the year of the snake, too. You can also change your perspective by changing your view. Zeckendorf had his own plane, so we could look at cities in a brand new way. Whoa! I've never seen a city from up so high. It taught me that a city is alive, bustling with activity. But the best way to change your perspective is to try out new ideas. Throughout my life, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, jot down new designs on little sheets of paper, and leave them all over the house. My wife Eileen would get up and say, "Dear, it's 4 a.m. Don't you ever sleep?" I could try it this way, or I can do it that way. Not every idea will exceed. You need to try different things. After I started my own architecture firm, one of my first jobs was to build a science lab in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. To find good ideas, I slept outside on the site, listening to the silence like my mom had taught me. I didn't hear anything at first. It was hard. None of my ideas seemed good. Then, on a trip out to Mesa Verde National Park, I was inspired by the Pueblo Indian cliff dwellings. That trip showed me perspective. They're homes. They're built into the rocks. What a beautiful idea. The goal was to make the lab look like it was carved from the mountain. To make the colors blend, we mixed local stones into the building's concrete. The front path zigzagged like a garden in Suzhou, so you can't see it at all until you've arrived. It won Laboratory of the Year. My real dream, though, was to build museums and concert halls. Soon enough, I got my opportunity. In 1964, I was selected to design the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library, and that's in Boston. It was one of the hardest projects of my life. The location moved 3 times, and critics hated my design. That's a building? It's awful. Is that a glass triangle? It looks modern, not classic. Yuck! It's wonderful. Just give it a chance. Mixing old and new, concrete and glass, stone and light, we gave them a space that framed Boston. When it was finally built, people stopped complaining. Whoa! We put President Kennedy's words on the wall. All this will not be finished in the first 100 days, nor in our lifetime on this planet, but let us begin. Like rock farmers, we all must start somewhere. Not everything I designed was a success at first. In Boston, during the construction of the new John Hancock Tower, the windows started falling out. Smash! All over the place. It was such a disaster. No one wanted to hire me. It nearly ended my career. Today, the Hancock Tower is one of the most recognizable buildings in the Boston skyline. With each mistake, I learned something new. In time, I was asked to design one of the most famous museums in Washington, D.C., the East Building of the National Gallery of Art. But the shape of the empty lot was a problem. This space is a trapezoid, so a square building is not going to fit. That was from the National Gallery director, Paul Mellon. For weeks, I tried coming up with ideas, lost in my thoughts. What's he doing? Shh! That's how he works. He's drawing new designs in the air. Even when you draw in the air, creativity isn't magic. It starts with hard work and perseverance. Finally, on an airplane, I doodled something on the back of an envelope. What if we split the trapezoid and create two triangles? A triangular building. Will anyone like it? In the first 2 months, the museum had more than 1 million visitors. People didn't want to leave, many of them wanting to touch the sharp angle at the corners of the building. They call it the knife's edge. It gets touched by so many people, the staff stopped trying to clean the smudges. Yet, when it came to museums, the most important work was about to begin. This is the Louvre, one of the most historic buildings in Paris, France, and one of the most famous museums in the world. It's been a museum since Napoleon's time, but hasn't been updated in hundreds of years. We'd like you to renovate it. That was the President of France, Francois Mitterrand. The building needed so much work. 3 million people visited every year, but there were only 2 public restrooms. Mom, I gotta go. There wasn't enough space to handle big crowds or store the art. And most important, no one knew where the entrance was. How do you even get inside? To come up with ideas, I walked the grounds for hours. I studied, and I studied, and I studied some more. Every angle, every perspective. We need a place where people will say, ah, that's the entrance. Where will you put it? Right here. Straight down. We can dig and have it come up from underground. It took 13 years. When critics first saw the design, they hated it. Yuck! A pyramid? Just terrible. They didn't want an American or someone Chinese altering their heritage. But when they saw the finished product, their perspective quickly changed. This grand entrance, he mixed the old with the modern, concrete with glass, bringing them together. Breathtaking. Look how it lets in all the light. Today, the Louvre is more than just a famous landmark in France. It's the largest museum in the world and one of the most visited. As for the pyramid, now everybody knows where the entrance is. It's no longer a palace for kings and queens. It's designed for all of us. art and architecture for everyone. I visited the Louvre. It is beautiful. In my life, I saw both ancient art and modern design. Each one made me who I am. Each is beautiful in its own way. It's just a matter of perspective. Never stop looking at things from different points of view. Keep your eyes and ears open to the world and your mind open to new ideas. Let the light in. When you do, you'll have a blueprint for success. Pei's buildings are all over the world, from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland and the Meyerson Symphony Center in Dallas to the Museum of Islamic Art in Qatar. He won the Pritzker Architecture Prize for the profession's highest honor, and used the money to create a scholarship fund for students from China. He became an American citizen, and for his contributions to American life, he was awarded the Medal of Liberty at the Statue of Liberty's centennial. He valued it above all his professional honors. To encourage young architects, he'd often say, "You are the only one who can do this." Like the gardens of my youth, it is not a straight path. It curves and zigzags, filled with surprises that are meant to be explored and discovered. Wherever you go, with all your heart. Your future is yours to construct, brick by brick, or stone by stone. You can design it, shape it, and build something beautiful. Build something meaningful. Build something that expresses who you are. I am Pei, and I know that you are the architect of your own life. What an incredible life, from humble beginnings in China to designing some of the world's most recognizable buildings. What I Am Pei tells us is that our path to adulthood and throughout our life is never a straight path. The twists and turns make it interesting and sometimes hard for others to follow, but it is our path and no one else's. He also says it's up to us to design, shape, and build the path we follow. We all need to be the architects of our own life, and some of you may even become an architect like I Am Pei and design buildings we can all visit in the future. I can't wait to see them. I'm John Fortune, and thank you for watching Lunenburg Storytime. See you next time.
Hi, my name is Donna Fortune, and today I'm going to read you a book about an ordinary person who changed the world. The title of the book is I Am Billie Jean King, written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am a very curious person, and I enjoy learning about the world, its animals, different cultures, technology, and ordinary people like you and me who have done some pretty awesome things. I chose this book because, like so many other people, I think Billie Jean King was an extraordinary person who dared to dream big. What's an extraordinary person? Well, let's read the story about Billie Jean King and see if we can figure it out. I am Billie Jean King. Fair play. It's such a simple idea. In sports and in life, it means you respect the rules and treat everyone equally. But sometimes people don't want to play fair, and other times they don't even want to let you play. But that never stopped me. I loved all sports: football, basketball, baseball. I was small and quick. Get her! You get her! She's too fast! That's not very ladylike. Maybe she should take up sewing. I don't think she's meant for sewing. You show 'em what's what, Billie Jean. When I was little, people called me a tomboy, which is a word I still don't like. Girls can enjoy sports just as much as boys. Today, many dads encourage their daughters to play sports. But back when I was growing up, my dad was one of the first. Most important, he played equally with both me and my brother. Equal time, equal respect. Never underestimate your opponent. Do you understand? Got it. Never underestimate your opponent. Check. Our dad was a really good athlete. In college, he used to play against Jackie Robinson. I was so good at baseball, my dream was to be a professional player. But when I went to my first real baseball game, I noticed something. What's wrong with Billie Jean? There's no girls on the team, only boys. It didn't seem fair. I'd have to find another sport. Fortunately, in 5th grade, a friend asked me a question that changed my life. Do you want to play tennis? What's tennis? A game where you run, jump, and you hit a ball. Those are 3 of my favorite things. Sure, I'll try it. My first time on the court, I had no idea what I was doing. Back then, tennis was a game played mostly by wealthy people at fancy country clubs. That wasn't my family. My mother sewed my white shorts. My racket was borrowed. Did I miss a few shots? Sure, no one's instantly an expert. Being a great player takes hard work. A few weeks later, I heard about a coach named Clyde Walker who gave free coaching on the public courts. Often, the right teacher can change your life. Anyone know the first lesson? Hit it hard. Swing through. Nope. Close the gate. Close the gate? So the balls don't roll away. Coach Clyde taught me how to hold the racket. He made tennis fun. That first afternoon, I was hooked. I had found the sport I loved. When my mom came to pick me up, I told her, I know what I want to do with my life. I'm going to be the #1 tennis player in the world. That's fine, dear. Get in. Now, I just needed the right equipment. To save money for a tennis racket, I did odd jobs around the neighborhood, like taking out people's trash and weeding their gardens. Eventually, I saved $8.29 in a mason jar. That's almost $75 today, enough for a racket in my favorite color, purple. As a city employee, Coach Clyde traveled to different park every day. My mom drove me for hours to get his free coaching, all across Long Beach, California. Wait, you're that girl from yesterday at the other park. That's me. The only way to get good is to play every day. So, what are we working on? Mom didn't drive me because she thought I'd be rich. Back then, playing tennis didn't pay much money, especially if you were a woman. She drove me so I could do what I loved. Not everyone cheered me on. At one tournament, they wouldn't let me be in the group photo. They said I needed to wear a dress instead of shorts. They said that boys wear shorts and girls wear dresses. Everybody say winners, winners, and they took the picture without me. By the time I was 12 years old, at the fancy LA Tennis Club, I noticed something else. Everyone wore white, and everyone was white. What's wrong, Billie Jean? Where's everybody else? I wanted things to change. Tennis shouldn't be a sport only for rich white people. It should be a sport everyone can enjoy. I need to change tennis and make it more equal. If I become the #1 player in the world, people will listen. Every day I worked with Coach Clyde. I also worked at home. My brother would practice pitching baseballs, and I'd make sure my tennis serves didn't knock over any lamps. Did you see that shot? Did you see that pitch? And people looking in said their parents really let them practice indoors? At 15, I had to write an essay about my future. I predict that I will make it to Wimbledon by age 18, where I will lose to the #1 female player. What's Wimbledon? It's in London. It's the biggest tennis tournament in the world. At 16, I started being coached by Alice Marble, a former #1 tennis player who won 18 Grand Slam championships which are the biggest events of all. There you go, Billie Jean. Swing all the way through. She convinced me I could win and made me realize how many strong women in sports had come before me. I was part of something bigger than just myself. Soon, a new thing also started happening. Billie Jean wins. Billie Jean wins. With Coach Alice, I went from number 19 in the country to number 4. By age 17, I made it all the way to Wimbledon. We won the women's doubles title, which is when you play tennis with a partner. We were the youngest team to ever do it. We couldn't afford to go to the big Wimbledon celebration ball, but we enjoyed the victory. As I started college, I was ranked number 3 in the country, but my school still didn't give me a scholarship. Sorry, there are no scholarships for girls. Wait a minute. I'm one of the lowest ranked people on the tennis team, and I have a full scholarship. She's the best player on the campus and one of the best in the world, and she gets nothing? That's not fair. That was Larry. He always wanted men and women to be treated equally. I married him a few years later. Over the years, even as my career moved forward, people still didn't treat women equally. When a man won a tournament, he'd get a big check. When a woman won the same tournament, she was paid much less. It's not fair. When a man won, the reporters would ask him questions about the match. When a woman won, they'd ask, "Are you planning to have children soon, Billie Jean?" That's just not unfair. It's insulting. Are those new glasses, Billie Jean? Did you change your hair, Billie Jean? Why don't they ask her about how hard it is to play with asthma and bronchitis, which she has? People would tell me it's not just how the world worked. Women were paid less than men. They were treated worse than men. I knew I had to change it. Soon, I achieved one of the greatest victories of my career. Congratulations, Billie Jean. You won the big one, the singles title at Wimbledon. There were so many tennis greats who came before me. Suzanne Lenglen, Maureen Connolly, Althea Gibson, Alice Marble, Helen Wills Moody. Each of them taught me something. It's like they were there with me on one team. After winning Wimbledon, a second time in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles, which is when men and women play together, I thought things would get better for women. They didn't. In 1968, the man who won the Wimbledon got $4,800. I won for the third straight year and got $3,000 less. And it wasn't just me. Women were paid less than men in almost every job. That's how it is, lady. Fans buy tickets to see men, not women. I was the number 1 player in the world, but I was being paid so little, I couldn't even get a credit card. It was time to take action. When tournaments didn't offer equal pay, we started protesting. I won't be playing in the Pacific Southwest Open. Instead, 8 other female tennis stars and I will be playing on our own women's tour. But if you do that, people won't come to our tournament. Then maybe you should pay women equally. They called us the Original 9. Thanks to our women's tour, tournament organizers quickly realized fans would pay just as much to see us play. Soon after, I was the first woman ever named Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year. But with every step forward, there was always someone who wanted to move things back. A girl tennis player? I bet I can beat her. His name was Bobby Riggs. At one point in time, he was the number 1 tennis player in the world. Now he was 55 years old and a loudmouth bully. Bobby Riggs insisted women weren't as strong as men. To prove it, he challenged me to a match. When I refused, he challenged Margaret Court, who had recently become the number 1 female player in the world. "I'm going to play him, Billie Jean. They're paying me $10,000. "What? First, that's not enough. Second, you need to win this match, Margaret. Everyone will be watching. They'll want to see if we're as strong as men." Bobby Riggs said, "It's the match of the century. Man versus women. Get ready to see women lose." They played on Mother's Day. You had to win 2 of the 3 sets. Bobby beat Margaret easily. Bobby Riggs wins both sets, 6-2 and 6-1. I told you men were stronger. Men are better. Now I want to play Billie Jean. I'll play her on clay, grass, wood, cement, marble, or roller skates. Bobby Riggs wins both sets, 6-2, 6-1. I heard the score in an airport. My reaction was instantaneous. I want to play him. It was called the Battle of the Sexes, the biggest tennis match in the world that the world had ever seen. I knew what was at stake. Bobby treated it like it'd be easy. You should train. Billie Jean's really good. Margaret was number 1 and I beat her. Billie Jean will be easy too. She's just a girl. The match was set at the Astrodome, a massive stadium in Texas. Since it had a white roof, I knew it would be hard to see the tennis ball when it was up high in the lights. I also knew Bobby liked to hit them high, so for weeks I practiced hitting 150 overhead shots every single day. You sure you know what you're doing? Yep, hit me another high one. Instead of playing best of 3, which was what women usually played, we decided to play best of 5. Bobby said women couldn't handle longer matches. I needed to show people he's wrong. You sure you know what you're doing? Yep, hit me another one. The prize money was a record-setting $100,000, winner take all. Around this time, I also realized I was gay. Being gay means that if you're a girl, you love and have romantic feelings for other girls. And if you're a boy, you love and have romantic feelings for other boys. Eventually, Larry and I stopped being married, and I fell in love with a wonderful woman named Alana. You can't choose who you fall in love with. Your heart will tell you. Billie Jean, it's time. If I lost the match, I knew it would erase everything I'd achieved in tennis. But I was ready to win. In fact, the night before, I called my brother and told him to place a bet. Take all the money you have and put it on me. On the big day, I went over my game plan and did the most important thing of all. I read through the hundreds of letters that had come that week from fans. Dear Ms. King, I'm tired of my brother saying that girls are weaker. Please beat that man bully, Bobby Riggs. This wasn't just a tennis match. It was a fight to prove how strong women were. Little girls around the country were counting on me. On September 20th, 1973, 30,000 fans packed the Astrodome. 90 million more were watching on TV, which is more than some Super Bowl games. To this day, it is the most watched tennis match ever. Women are about to get beat. I'm the real king. Years ago, Riggs was ranked number 1. But like so many braggarts, he still thinks he's the best. This was the big time. The world was watching. Now I had to deliver the right statement. At the beginning of the match, Bobby was wearing a jacket. He was slower than I thought he'd be. Oof! Point for Billie Jean. I didn't hold back. Thwack! When I went up a few points, he took off his jacket. It didn't help. Of course, he tried hitting them up high. I was ready. As the match went on, I didn't miss a single overhead shot, just like I practiced. Bobby wasn't talking or bragging anymore. He was scared and breathing heavily. He was just another bully, and every bully can be defeated. Billie Jean wins. I crushed him in 3 straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. He didn't win a single one. Billie Jean King wins. She won. Billie Jean King wins. The woman won. Billie Jean King wins. The women win. Billie Jean King wins. We won. For millions, it was the very first time they'd seen a woman beat a man at anything. Riggs jumped over the net to congratulate me. The first words he said were, "I underestimated you." He did. After my victory, I testified before Congress on the Educational Equality Act, which would fund the goals of Title IX and make sure that girls' sports got the same amount of money as boys' sports. If you fund sports and girls find out it is fun, then they are accepted. If they're looked up to, this will change everything, she said. Even after Larry and I stopped being married, we still stayed close. The two of us established World Team Tennis, where men and women would play on the same team, together as equals. One of the best parts of World Team Tennis were these clinics, which we offered to kids, including this 8-year-old girl and her little sister. I'm Venus Williams. I'm Serena. Our dad saw you play on TV and decided his daughters should play tennis too. In my life, people expected me to dress like a girl, act like a girl, and hit like one. I did. I always hit the ball like a girl, which means harder and more powerful than anyone. All of us are powerful in our own ways. So how do you get to be your best self? By practicing, sweating, and giving everything you've got. And when you have nothing left, give more. Before the Battle of the Sexes, only one in 27 girls played a high school sport. By the end of the decade, 1 in 3 did. Today, the U.S. Tennis Association facilities in New York is called the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. The courts are open to the public, just like the ones she learned on. In 2009, President Obama made her the first female athlete to win the Presidential Medal of Freedom for being one of the first openly lesbian sports figures and for using sports to create social change. The best is still to come. I look forward to seeing a woman play baseball in the World Series at some point in my lifetime. Playing fair is the same in both sports and life. If everyone doesn't get the same chance, you'll never find out who's truly best. Real victory doesn't come from points scored. It comes from how you treat others in the game. No one really wins until everyone gets to play. I'm Billie Jean King, and I champion equality. Wow, what a great book about an ordinary person who changed the world. Billie Jean King. It's been my pleasure to share this book about Billie Jean King and her amazing story with you today. I hope to see you all again on Lunenburg Storytime. Thanks for watching.